This I love so much on page 112. You describe a moment that cracks me up, I tell you. You say, I woke one night to find him, Barack, staring at the ceiling, his profile lit by the glow of streetlights outside. He looked vaguely troubled, as if he were pondering something deeply personal. Was it our relationship? The loss of his father? Hey, what are you thinking about? I whispered. He turned to look at me, his smile a little sheepish. Oh, he said, I was just thinking about income inequality.
That's my honey. That was Barack, you know. I mean, you know, here's this guy, and at the time I was a young professional, all right? This is when I was coming into my own, right? I had a job that paid more than my parents ever made in their lives. I was rolling with the bourgeois class. I mean, my friends owned condos. I had a Saab, which was a cool car back then. I don't know what's cool these days, but a Saab back in the day, oh yeah, I had a Saab. And, you know, that was sort of that was the next step. Sort of, okay, you get married, you have a lovely home, and on and on and on. And yes, the bigger problems of the world were important, but the more important thing was where you were going in your career. And I talk about Barack meeting some of my friends and how that didn't really play out because he's this serious sort of income inequality, and my friends are like, I just went writing.
You really let us in into the relationship. I mean, down to the proposal and everything, you let us in. And you also write about some major differences between the two of you when you started out. You say, I understood it was nothing but good intentions that would lead him to say, I'm on my way, or almost home.
Oh, gosh.
And for a while, I believed those words. I'd give the girls their nightly bath, but delay bedtime so that they could wait up to give their dad a hug. And then you describe this scene where you'd wait it up. He says, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. He doesn't come. And then you turn out the lights. I could hear them click off the way you wrote it. You could hear those lights click. You went to bed and you were mad.
I was mad. This was in the time when we had married and he was in politics, and, you know, I had to go through the struggle that now that I had sort of, we've skipped parts where I actually started to swerve and started to shape my own career.
Yes.
But at a point when you get married and you have kids, you know, your whole plan, once again, gets unended because now you're a mom. And I love being a mother. I love being at home with my girls. I was a working mother, juggling everything. I still had my careers. I was running a nonprofit organization. I went on to have, you know, some wonderfully interesting opportunities and career opportunities. But that reality of when you get married, especially you get married to somebody who has a career that swallows up everything, which is what politics is. Yeah. I talk about the challenges
and
of
finding your
really
footing
finding my footing, finding my voice in a very powerful, with a very powerful personality, who was Barack Obama, who taught me how to swerve, but he also, his swerving just sort of, you know, I'm flailing in the wind, and now I've got 2 kids and I'm trying to hold everything down, and he's traveling back and forth from Washington or Springfield or wherever it was, given whatever office he was holding at the time. And he had this wonderful optimism about time, you know, that he thought there was way more of it than there really was, and he would fill it up constantly. And I talk about how he constantly he's a plate spinner, I described it. Somebody that, you know, in the circus, you've got plates on a stick, and, you know, it's not exciting unless one's about to fall. And if there isn't any, then you put another plate up and you're spinning it. And that's my husband. That's who the box checker married. And now we have 2 kids, and his idea of coming home, I learned, was very different from my idea of coming home. He would be optimistic and say, I'm on my way. But then I'd learned that he was in a banquet hall, you know, and hadn't like gone to the valet to get the car when he told me he was on his way home in 20 minutes.
He meant, I intend to come home.
I intend to come home. I have a plan to come home.
Yes.
But it's not 20 minutes, and it's actually an hour. So I had to learn how to first deal with that, and we talk about the work that we had to do as a couple, counseling we had to do to kind of work through this stuff.
Tell us about that pivotal moment you had in counseling. I thought that that was crucial, and I know that so many people reading Becoming are going to see themselves, if not in that particular story. You say, after couples counseling, instead of making a case against Barack, which you went to counseling thinking once you told the counselor.
Well, because that's what everybody in counseling does. You go because the counselor's going to tell the other person. Would you tell him about himself? And she's like, would you tell her about herself? And lo and behold, counseling wasn't that at all. It was about me exploring my sense of happiness and my voice, the notion that you come to a relationship whole, and that I couldn't look to Barack and he couldn't look to me to be everything, that we had to make our everythings on our own. And what clicked in me was that I need support, and I need some from him, but I need to figure out how to build my life in a way that works for me. So what we decided to do at bedtime was that I started setting hard and fast, because the kids were little at the time, and anybody with little kids knows that bedtime is magical. You do not keep kids up because mothers need their children to go to sleep. And my kids were good sleepers. They went to bed at 7:30, and after that, I had my life. So 7:30 was bedtime. And it was like, if you want to see them and if you want to be here, then you have to get here. We're not waiting for you. You've got to catch up to us. And I think I say that I knew that in this life that this husband I was with, this swerving dervish of a person, that I would have to ground myself and my kids firmly somewhere and have him catch up to us.
But what the most important thing I think you said about this was that we live by the paradigms we know. Mm-hmm. And in Barack's childhood, his father disappeared, his mother came and went. She was devoted to him, but was never really tethered to him. Mm-hmm. As far as he was concerned, there was nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. And there you grew up, Ooh. You all are the force, you're the square. And meanwhile, you'd been raised inside this,
the four of us,
the tight weave of your own family.
With all my extended family and Sunday dinners and birthdays and the way things are. And this guy, it's like, whew, how you made it, you know. Mm-hmm. His mother, was in Indonesia. He was raised by his grandparents. He didn't know his father. And yet and still, even with his context, he was a solid guy.
Yeah.
Realizing that there are so many ways to live this life.
So his paradigm meant that he approached family life differently than you did.
Exactly.
That's what you realized.
And it wasn't better or worse, it was different.